He seems to be pretty miserable out there as his wife makes cakes and fruit platters and whatever. And she seems to be the one making the money now. So he has to reinvigorate, restore his royal connection to become relevant or to try and remain relevant. And I think, therefore, it would suit him to know, or it would suit him that the rest of us know that maybe a reconciliation is in the works.
So how do you patch up a family row? How about taking round a bottle of wine and having a chat? The King's Communications Secretary brought a bottle along for his Clear the Air meeting with a team of Prince Harry's advisors, although we suspect it wasn't one they picked up at the shop around the corner. Could the King and Harry meet in person again soon? The Times royal editor Kate Mancy is with us now. Good morning.
Good morning.
So what's the latest on this then? Because it was quite strange to see these pictures in the newspapers of this meeting, which they didn't seem to be aware was being snapped at the time. But it's a significant moment, isn't it?
It is. I think there's two really interesting things about this. The first, that representatives from Harry's side, representatives from the King's side actually got round the table and had a meeting in the first place. The second really interesting thing about it is that it was leaked to the press. Now, how that was and how that came to be, we don't know. But pictures of the meeting obviously emerged over the weekend, showing the communications leaders. So Tobin Andre from the King's Palace meeting with Meredith Maines. That's Harry and Meghan's top communications woman. She had flown over from the States, from LA, and she was there with Liam Maguire, who's Harry's PR man based in the UK. So they all got round a table, but of course the meeting was made public. But what's interesting about it in the first instance, I suppose, is the fact that this does seem to be the start of some sort of open channel of communication, as it was explained to me yesterday, between one household and the other.
But crucially, not with William. Do we know what's going on there? There's just absolutely no chance that he could also be part of this sort of warmer relationship, I suppose.
Well, last time Harry came round to the UK, there was this conversation, will he meet the King? Won't he meet the King? There's never any discussion or any understanding that William has any interest in meeting his brother, engaging with his brother after the Netflix programme, after everything that was aired in his autobiography, Spare. And Harry intimated that in the BBC interview. So part of the palace's interest in this will be trying to open that channel, because they didn't know that BBC interview was coming. It was a huge surprise to them and not a pleasant one. And in that interview, Harry also said that there were some members of his family who would never forgive him for the things that he said, particularly in the book, that the most obvious person being William. And many people might think, well, who can blame him? But no, there isn't any sign of reconciliation between the brothers at all. If anything, it will be a kind of rapprochement between the King and Harry at some stage.
If they're not cross about the leaks of this potential meeting?
Well, I spoke to both sides yesterday, and both sides saying they're frustrated with the fact that this had come out, both saying they didn't mean for it to be made public.
Well, somebody did. So who do we think it was?
And it won't help matters going forward, of course, because this has always been the issue. You know, Harry says, my father won't talk to me. Well, his father can't really talk to him for fear of it being leaked. And this is just another prime example. So wherever that leak came from, or whether it was just good luck on the part of a journalist picking up a good old-fashioned tip, we don't know. But it certainly won't help matters going forward in terms of building that trust.
Yeah, and I suspect that many people listening will have their own ideas about who spoke to the press ahead of that meeting. Finally, Kate, Donald Trump is going to come back. He's having a full state visit, but he's probably not going to speak in Parliament, is he?
No, his dates have just been released, but it's going to be after the House of Commons has broken for recess to go off for conference season. So it kind of gives them a bit of a get out of jail free card. That means that he won't necessarily have the time to come and address Parliament, which has been a privilege extended to his predecessors, of course, people like Ronald Reagan, Barack Obama. And although this is an unprecedented second state visit for a US president, it won't be that element of it involved.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, Kate. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks. Pleasure.
Kate Mancy, the Times royal editor.
And the cynical undertone of that conversation was really quite remarkable, Kate. But the one way we can, without sort of getting into the realms of royal politics, they must have said to Donald Trump, come on the 14th.
17th to the 19th of September.
They know there's no parliament, so it's just not a conversation. Because he'd want to speak to parliament, wouldn't he?
You cynic, Steve. It looks like there could be some kind of reconciliation on the cards between Prince Harry and his father, the king. But it still looks a bit complex. William is not involved, and there's already been a leak. What do we make of this?
Well, I'll tell you, Kate, I'm not totally across this because I was very busy yesterday watching paint dry. And I thought that's rather more important than what you've just asked me about. But of course, I did see the headlines. I do think it's interesting that it got leaked. Somebody leaked it. I wonder who. My betting would be on Harry's side rather than the palace, because I don't see the interest of the palace in this at all. Also, why would you have such a confidential meeting on the balcony of a club overlooking Green Park?
It's a very, very good question to ask, Andrew, and one that I'm sure people inside the palace will be asking this morning.
Stig and I used to meet secretly to talk about Times Radio. We never met. We met in the basement of
McDonald's, wasn't it?
The Spectator magazine in Old Queen Street. We did not meet in St James's Park in full view of prying eyes in the pub.
Andrew, it's a good point, though, because some people might say there is a reason for such a public meeting and a reason for a leak. And there has been some speculation as to whether or not this is Prince Harry actually trying to drive a bit of a wedge between his father and Prince William, given that we know that William is not interested in any kind of reconciliation. I mean, do you think there's any truth in that?
Yes, I'm almost certain this. From a position, Kate, of zero knowledge on such matters, I'm absolutely sure that is the case. I've always found the less you know about something, the more sure you can be of it. So in this case, I'm definitely sure.
That's the story of the age. That's the absolute You've hit the zeitgeist finally, Andrew. We've been waiting for you to absolutely hit the zeitgeist, and you've managed to do it.
But you always ask the question in these circumstances, key bono, who is going to benefit?
Yes.
And in this case, it's clearly Harry. After all, what has Harry got going for him now? I saw one of the papers described him this morning as a middle-aged man-child. The only thing he has going for him is still this residual royal connection. And the longer he's out on the west coast of the United States, the less that royal connection seems to matter and so on. He's not made a success of anything else. He seems to be pretty miserable out there as his wife makes cakes and fruit platters and whatever. And she seems to be the one making the money now. So he has to reinvigorate, restore his royal connection to become relevant or to try and remain relevant. And I think, therefore, it would suit him to know, or it would suit him that the rest of us know that maybe a reconciliation is in the works. But again, if I was the royal family or the royal household, the people who went to that meeting, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't me that leaked it, I would think, do we really want to deal with this guy again? We didn't think he could be trusted, and we met him to try and get the show back on the road, and it's in the Mail on Sunday within 24 hours.
Well, it's not the only big meeting that the King will have to deal with in September, because Donald Trump is coming back. We've got the dates for the state visit, 17th to the 19th of September. But Andrew, he's not going to be addressing Parliament. MPs are missing out.
Well, for that, much relief all round.
Do you think that's how Number 10 will feel about it? Do you have
Absolutely.
A suspicion? Is there a suspicion this was deliberate?
It only had the potential for embarrassment. And for somebody to do, either an MP or a member of the House of Lords who woke up in the middle of the speech to do or say something stupid, or to be a walkout or a Palestinian demonstration or all the rest of it. There's a lot of people in Parliament these days who still think they're student activists. I don't think a speech by Donald Trump, or even a Trump by Donald speech, I don't think that would really hit the Aristotelian levels of rhetoric. So I think it's good that we've been spared. I think it's actually a great testament to the combined diplomacy of the royal family and the Foreign Office that they've managed to avoid a speech in the Houses of Parliament, and I think they're managing to avoid him ever getting anywhere near central London. And I'm interested in the date that they've chosen. to arrive on the 17th, because that's the date that I'm already planning to leave for the United States. So I don't know whether they took that into account. They thought, well, Neil's leaving, so that's a good time.
It's a one-in, one-out. I believe we negotiated a one-in, one-out system for you and Donald Trump.
I think I am part of that. I'm going to test that one-in, one-out system to see if it works. I'm not quite sure if the Americans will let me in, but that'll be part of the test.
Well, you never know. You might bump into him at baggage collection, Andrew. You could
I'd
cross
end up
paths.
in alligator Alcatraz.
Yeah, you would.
You never know.